These are three different businesses. People think of them as different marketing methods, like cold calling and texting. I consider them like flipping and wholesaling. Like they are completely different businesses. So I'm more or less trying to create three businesses all at the same time.
Hey, thank you for being here. Before we get started in this excellent episode that I want you to really, really listen to, especially for those of you all that are trying to get started in real estate and you really don't have a lot of money for marketing, this episode is a great episode for you. But before we get started, I just want to reach out to you, tell you thank you for being loyal listeners. Thank you for being here. And thank you for giving me feedback on what we're doing here with the We Love Equity Real Estate Show. For the past couple of weeks, we dropped 106 questions, frequently asked questions that I get from some of the students that I've worked with and talked with. So those episodes are out. And then today, we're going to be talking about joint venturing with Jonah Korchin out of Denver, Colorado. He's doing deals in Denver and North Cali and soon to be Southern Cali. So really get in, grab your pencils, papers, take notes because we go over joint venturing and where to find additional wholesalers to joint venture with those wholesalers, how to do agent outreach, right? How to work directly with real estate agents because real estate agents are not your enemy as a real estate investor and as a wholesaler. And then we talked about your option agreement, how to structure that option agreement so you make sure you get paid. So come on in, let's jump in to this episode and do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, give us a share, subscribe to the channel. And then also on the podcast, please share with us a review. We love those 5-star reviews so we can boost up the rankings and make sure we're providing the content that you need. So, all right, I'll see you on the other side.
You're listening to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show, a podcast that discusses the intricacies of real estate investing with your host, Marcus E. Maloney. Marcus is a real estate investor best known for being the equity king. He's been awarded that moniker because he and his team find amazing real estate deals. He will be talking with investors who have done some transformational things in the real estate industry. They'll discuss their process, their strategies, and how their investments transform their lives and the communities they invest in. We welcome you to the We Love Equity Real Estate Show.
The We Love Equity Show is brought to you by ASREA, widely recognized as an outstanding resource for real estate investors with exceptional education, networking, and support, along with profit-enhancing benefits and all aspects of real estate investing. Visit ASREA at www.asrea.org. That's visit ASREA at www.azreia.org. Hey, welcome to an episode of the We Love Equity Real Estate Show. I am your host, Marcus Maloney, and I'm excited today because we're going to be talking about some things that you really, really need to focus on, especially those of you who are looking to get started and you don't have money for marketing, you don't have money for down payments, things like that. We want to talk about wholesaling and joint venturing and agent collaboration with Jonah Korchin, who hails from Denver, Colorado, but he's doing deals all across the country and specifically wholesaling in Denver and North Cali. So with that being said, man, Jonah, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having on. When you DM'd me and was like, hey, you want to come on the podcast? I was instantly excited to be here. Appreciate you so much for having me on. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about agent outreach and all that good stuff.
Yeah, not a problem, man. And I've been following you on Instagram because I love some of the things that you're doing with acquisitions. And it's a little different model than what most people tell you is go out and download some leads and start cold calling and everything like that. But you take a completely different approach, and it's actually an easier barrier to entry than most. So before we get to that, man, kind of give us your background. Why did you get started in real estate and real estate wholesaling specifically?
So I had always had an entrepreneurial vision since I was like probably like senior year of college. I had an entrepreneurial vision. I was already set to go into the Peace Corps. So I did that for 2 years, came back, was a little bit lost. I kept trying different business models in general. Marcus, I don't know if, do you follow Gary Vee at all?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So have you ever seen his like garage flipping series?
I have not. I have
So
not.
there's the thing where he just goes to garage sales and flips them on eBay. So I was doing
Okay.
that for a while, realized that wasn't going to make me rich. I got into stocks for a while, realized you really need a lot of money to get money in stocks. And so I just wasn't finding the right one. I'm I'm not insanely creative. I knew I wasn't going to create a product or an iPhone or something. But then I'm living in California at the time. That's where I'm from. And I go to a long distance real estate investing meetup. Like it's all about long distance real estate investing.
Okay.
Right. And I go to it because I'm just like, I'd never even thought about real estate as an option. And I go to it and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like, but I don't have any money. So I don't even care about long distance real estate investing. What I really care
Hmm.
about is who the hell do you make money without any money?
Right.
Right. And then they start talking about wholesaling as like a possible option. And I'm immediately enthralled by it. I'm like, this is the perfect business model ever. I don't
Hmm.
understand. Like, it's literally, I don't need to come up with a product. It's all based on my ability to relate to other people, which I know is a skill of mine, anyways. And also, it's super basic and you barely need any money. And you can make tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars
Yep.
doing it, right? So I learn about it and I immediately start going to YouTube, start doing the whole YouTube university, yada, yada, go really, really, really hard into that. Died to start my business in April of 2020, which if people know, that's exactly when the world shut down at the
Yep.
exact same time, right? Which for me was a blessing in disguise because then I couldn't hang out with any of my degenerate friends who I was hanging
Okay.
out with at the time. So it just made me focus super hard. So pandemic was terrible for a lot of people. For me, it was actually exactly what I needed at exactly the right time, I think. And then, yeah, so I actually started doing direct seller or like the classic methods like cold calling, skip tracing leads, all of that stuff. And then I saw an ad from a guy named Jamil Damji, which I don't know if
Hmm.
you know him. He's has
Yep.
his own program called Astro Flipping.
Yep.
They got me in.
We're in the same market, and I've done deals with Jamil. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, love it.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. So then, yeah, I mean, his ad caught my attention. It's like, do you want to stop cold calling and do this a better way? I'm like, hell yeah, I do, because cold calling kind of sucks.
Yep. Yep.
Like I can do it, and I did it, and I got deals from it, but I thought it was just a less superior method. So, anyways, joined his program. Immediately started learning the basics of direct to agent, direct and micro flipping and JV model. I really liked it. Got I was doing direct to seller and micro flipping and direct agent, which I got one deal. I got my first deal about 4 months in. It was about $10,000. That was actually from cold calling. That was the regular way.
Okay.
Then it,
Wait.
uh,
Before, let's not gloss over that. Let's kind of touch on that real quick,
okay.
Jonah. So, 4 months in, you did YouTube University, you did the flipping program, and you were
Mhm.
cold calling, right? And you got that seller on the phone. What was that seller's motivation triggers? Why did
So
they want to sell?
this was really interesting in the sense that it was on a tax lien list, but it had nothing to do with the tax lien. So her
Okay.
situation was really sad. She had like some really serious family problems, just like there were just a lot of family issues that she needed to go to the East Coast for, and she needed money to take care of her granddaughter, like
Okay.
basically immediately or as soon as possible. So it was actually a pretty nice house. It was probably remodeled in like 2005. It wasn't like perfectly remodeled, but it wasn't that bad either. And so we talked it out. It was it
Was
was a
this in
rough
your
deal.
was this in your local market, or was it
This
a
was yeah, this is in the out. So I'm from San Francisco. It's on
okay.
the outskirts of San Francisco. So it's like
Okay.
it's a place called Antioch. People would know it if they're from here, but it's a much cheaper market. Like it was like 1,000 square foot, one bed, one bath condo that
Okay.
sold for like I think ARV on it, if I'm not mistaken, was like 350. And then I'm trying to remember the numbers. It might be hard for me to remember the
Okay,
numbers.
yeah, that's no problem.
But what I do remember is the things that I screwed up because I learned
Okay.
from. right? So
Okay.
we can get into the things that I screwed up and the things that I did well. So, I mean, obviously did well building rapport with the seller. The seller trusted me a lot. Things I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that when you're comping a condo, the condo and townhome, anything with an HOA, really you should be comping it with things that are in the same HOA.
Absolutely.
So this actually breaks the subdivision. Like you could have two condo apartment complexes with condos in them that are literally next door, and they might
Mm-hmm.
sell for totally different prices because of how the HOA
Yep.
is.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
I had no idea. So I was comping it with ones that were like literally next door comps. And then I started talking to buyers and my heart sank, being like, God damn it. How is it so different that they're in
Yep.
this apartment complex versus the other one? Right.
Well, what were some
So,
of those differences that you glossed over and didn't notice?
so I mean, it was mainly, it was the HOA fee
Okay.
was in mind. That was a big one, I think. The other differences were, I think it came with garages. Like, I think
Okay.
they had
Yep.
like, or
Big
maybe not
difference.
garages, but like fully
Carports.
parking.
Okay.
While mine had like, oh, I'm blanking. What's it called? It's just like it's like parking spots basically
Yep.
with a, I'm like
Mhm.
blanking.
Like a carport.
Carport. Thank you.
Yep.
So basically they had just carports. So there's just like little things like that that I just didn't notice or I didn't really take into
Mhm.
account. So I thought ARV was like 350 and ARV was more like 310 or 320 or something. So I was like
Okay.
off by a decent amount, right? Which was pretty difficult at the beginning. So because of this, I do like a showing. Three buyers come, one buyer says they take it, they back out, but
Mm.
like, and then that wastes like 3 or 4 days because I don't know that until EMD's in there, it's not really a deal,
Right,
right? Like I
right,
do,
right.
but I don't really know. Um, and then so I'm scrambling. I eventually have to renegotiate because like it's just not going to work unless it was 10K less. Found a buyer at the very last moment. I think it was like the last day of the inspection period. They put in EMD, and luckily this buyer performed. It was really easy for me. They were a really good buyer, but
Okay.
stressful. I had to do like 3 showings. I had to renegotiate. I was like immediately told that my comps were off at the very beginning. I had had other things under contract before, but this was
The closest
one
one,
that
huh?
I like. This was an emotional one also, right? Because I was dealing with that seller who was dealing with that really heavy
Right,
issue.
right.
The other ones, the other people were motivated, but I didn't just identify as much with the seller or with those sellers as I did with that seller. So worked out in the end though, closed, got $9,900. And yeah, that's the story of my
Okay.
first deal.
So there's a few things there, right? You guys listening. So one, you built the rapport with the seller. The seller was going through some emotional things, and that's one of the things that's hard, right? When you're wholesaling is you go out, you build a rapport, and you make a promise that you're going to buy this property and help them out with this situation. And then you have buyers on the back end that don't perform, or you ran your
Mhm.
numbers wrong, or something like that. Now they're looking at you as, hey, you gave me a promise, you gave me a word that you was going to get this done in my situation. Where are we at? What are we doing here? And it can be emotional at times, even with you as being a wholesaler, especially being an ethical wholesaler, because you're trying to make sure you do everything that you promised that seller you was going to do.
100%. Yeah, exactly. 100%. And it was just rough. It was hard. Right. And like renegotiating was like a difficult thing too, because I mean, there was nothing wrong with their place. Right. So it was really
Hmm.
hard to come up with like a reason as to why I needed to renegotiate. If I remember correctly, what I said something on the line, I think what I said was just like, yeah, like honestly, I think I was just honest, which is always the best policy, which
Yep.
is like,
Yep.
honestly, I made a mistake. We were using the comps from the apartment complex next door. Here are the issues that I'm
Hmm.
realizing doing that. Right. So my thing always is just be as honest as possible with everyone. I know as a wholesaler, it's really tempting
Yep.
to even use
Hmm.
white lies. Right. But
Yep.
I've just learned in my experience, it's always better to just be as fully honest as possible, even if you don't get the deal because you were fully honest, because it's just not worth the headache, to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
honest. It just
And a lot
isn't.
and a lot of times, you know what, Jonah, and what you're talking about right here is what I always tell people is you have to educate your seller because the only thing they know is their condo, their place. They're not looking
Yep.
at what's going on in the market. They're not trying to compare their condo to somebody else's condo. And actually, every seller going to believe that their property is the best in the area. So by you being honest and just saying, hey, look, I made a mistake. I was looking at the condos across the street and they have X, Y, and Z, one, two, and three. Their condo fees are a little bit lower. Yours are higher. You don't have these amenities. That's the reason why the numbers were off. And she accepted that. She probably was a little hesitant about accepting
She
it,
was
but
not happy with me. Like,
right,
I'm not
right.
gonna lie. She was very unhappy with me, but I made the promise that it would close on time, and luckily it did. Luckily, my buyer did do that. And we gave her, and I was doing things that other buyers wouldn't do for her. So, like a lot of buyers, we had to do, what did we do? We let her stay in the property for like
Okay.
2 or 3 weeks after close, right? With a holdback.
Yep.
I could get into what that is if people want to know, but basically that's much harder to do in places like the Bay Area where tenant laws are really strict, because if she had stayed even 2 or 3 more weeks, she'd be legally considered a tenant. And that can be really tricky for people. So she wasn't getting any offers where people were willing to do that. But I knew some buyers who had done that before. So
Okay.
it helped out, right?
So
So
explain for those who don't know, Jonah, what a holdback is. Because I mean, I know, but for those who don't
for the
know,
audience.
yeah.
So a holdback is basically where, let's say there's somebody who's going to need, let's say a lot of times this is with elderly people, generally is when I do this, but like, let's say there's somebody who needs the money in order to move is usually what it is, right? Let's say they're really broke. They need the money in order to move, and they're not going to be able to move out by the day of closing because they don't have any money right now.
Hmm.
Something you can do is, if you're purchasing a property, you can hold back 10, 20, 30, 50K, however much you feel
Yep.
like is necessary for the property in escrow. That will stay in escrow for 2 weeks after close, right? Then the seller gets 2 weeks. And then once they leave, they leave. And then they get the rest of their money, the rest of
Yep.
that 10, 20, 30, 50K. We put in there too that if they were late, they'd be charged a bit of a per diem. They'd be charged like $200, $300 every day they're late to
Excellent. Excellent.
extra encourage them to get out. And yeah, it's just a way to make it where it's like, hey, I understand you don't have any money to move. We'll give you some time after close to move. And it's just a way to protect both parties where
Yeah.
they're motivated to get out because they want their money. And also it gives them some of their money right now, so they are able to get out.
Right. And it really comes into play, Jonah, like you said, where when you're dealing with some of these motivated sellers and they're in some of these situations where they absolutely need to move, right? Those are the people that we're trying to target, is those people that absolutely need to move. And they're in that situation where they may not have, especially in these markets now, $5,000, $10,000 to go and rent someplace. And it's
Right.
like, hey, I want to sell, but I don't have the money to move elsewhere. What can we do? And that's when you say, hey, look, we can help you out. It's another feather in your cap. We can help you out. We can offer you, or we can pay your first month's rent and security deposit, get you into place.
Yep.
Once you move out, then we can give you all of your money, and it's held in escrow. It's not like we're holding it. It's held in escrow, independent third party. So once you sign off that you're out, all of your money gets funded to you. So great strategy. Great strategy on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you gotta do with sellers and, like, just these situations is you have to get creative, right? I mean, the whole point, what do? We solve sellers' problems, right? That's what I think is the main value of a wholesaler to the marketplace is we
Hmm.
solve problems and relate to people better than anybody else. And that's why we deserve 10, 20, 30, 50K checks, is because we're good at relating to people and we're good at solving these complicated situations. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, okay, great first deal. You went through YouTube University, had a course, and you had to figure some things out along the road, right? You had some bumps, you had some mistakes, but you overcame those mistakes and made that first, basically $10,000 check. Once you received that check, or once you got that wire and it hit your account, what was your immediate thought once you got that?
I drove to, I didn't believe it. I was like, "You're not wiring me shiznaz. I'm going to the office and picking up a check." Like, I need that money in my bank account now, right?
Yeah.
At this point, what I had been doing was, I don't recommend this isn't the greatest financial advice, but it was what I did because I was hungry and I believed in myself, is I put everything on a 0% interest credit card, right? I had pretty good credit, which was nice. I just done a good job of keeping my credit up. And then so what I did is I got a 0% interest credit card and I was floating the balance at 0% because I knew I would be able to do this. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to make sure I was able to pay off this credit card because I only had like 5K to my name in the bank at that time. Right.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I go there, pick up the check. And yeah, no, it was very emotional, very spiritual moment for me where I was like, hell yes, I can do this whole entrepreneurship thing. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be free. Like I'm going to be
Hmm.
able to do this. Right. And I haven't felt that in that way about anything else
Hmm.
except for getting other people their first deals, which
Okay.
I don't know if we'll have time to get into, but that's my mission now is to help as many people as possible get their first deals and help out as many, because that's the only time I get is when I see somebody else celebrating that moment at this point. So it was spiritual, man. I was like, I just couldn't believe it. That was the most money I'd ever made ever in my life because my story is college, no money,
Hmm.
Peace Corps, there's no money there. That's just a
Yep.
volunteer program. They give you like a 5K stipend once you leave, like survival
Hmm.
money. That was the most money I'd ever had. So then 10,000, I just doubled.
Right.
And it,
Right.
and it was the proof in the pudding that this could be done. So
Absolutely.
good time.
Absolutely. And you know what, guys, once you get that first check and it really, just like Jonah said, it's that proof of concept. It lets you know that all of the work that you put in, there is a reward at the end of the day, and it does work. See, it took you 4 months. It took me 10 months plus, Jonah. So it was a lot of sleepless nights. Like, okay, what is everybody else doing that I'm not doing to where they're closing deals and I'm
Right.
not closing deals? You start to guess yourself. You start to second guess the process. But once you finally get that check, then you're like, okay, this does work. All right. So you were doing all of that. So now tell us, because for those people that may not have that 0% interest credit card or the 5,000 to get started, tell them about first, let's introduce them to joint venturing. What is that?
Yeah.
And why did you go that route?
So I'll quickly say, like, I'm going to tell a little bit of the rest of my story and then I'm going to answer my
Okay.
question. A little bit of my story answers that question.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
more or less, I get that $10,000 check. I'm a risk taker. So Jamil's best friend is this guy named Pace Morby. You probably know
Hmm.
him too. Creative
Yep.
financing. I thought that was super cool way of getting deals and owning real estate. So all I did, I immediately took that 10,000 and then just bought that course. I bought his. So I was
Okay.
so broke again because I mean, like, whatever. I'm in the basement of my parents' place anyways. It's not like it can get any worse than this for me at the moment. Like
Right.
this is probably my biggest bottom anyways. So like might as well stay at the bottom for now. But an issue happens. So what I start doing is I really start trying to do direct to seller, direct to agent, and the JV model, like you just said. And
Okay.
this is a problem. These are three different businesses.
Yep.
People think of them as different marketing methods, like cold calling and texting. I consider them like flipping and wholesaling. Like they are
Mhm.
completely different businesses. So I'm more or less trying to create three businesses all at the same time. And my metaphor for it is like you see three people who've made a wood bridge, a stone bridge, and a brick bridge to cross a river. You're trying to cross the river, and your genius idea is to create all three bridges at once, right?
Yep.
And that's obviously not going to work. So then eventually what happens is I literally run out of money. And I'm like, okay, I have like no more money left or very little. And this 0% interest credit card is running out because it took me another 8 months after that 4 months to get my second
Okay.
deal. And so what I do is I'm like, okay, we're going to go all in on real estate agents and JVing. The JVing was like, I also like, we'll get into it, but like I go all into direct to agent and then I immediately get a 20K check. And
Mhm.
then that year, the second year in business, I really hits very well because I started focusing.
But
And
wait,
so,
Jonah, this is one of the things that I used to hear a lot is agents don't like wholesalers. Agents don't want to work with wholesalers. Why would you want to do something with an agent? You know, agents think that wholesalers are stealing their opportunities, their commissions. So how was your
right.
conversation with those agents, especially being relatively new to the industry?
So in the end, a real estate agent, all they really care about is their commission in the end.
Yep.
Why they don't like wholesalers is because they're so used to dealing with wholesalers who have no idea what they're doing, right?
Mhm.
So there's a misconception out there because the greatest thing about wholesaling is there's no barrier to entry, but also the hard part about it is there's no barrier to entry, right? So anyone can get in. And if anyone can get in, then it's you're dealing with a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. They
Yep.
aren't like professional. They're just putting things under contract without any idea what they're going to do, just figure it out later, which like, look, I'm not going to lie. I did that sometimes. Like I'm guilty of it. Everyone's guilty of it, but it creates a bad taste in a lot of agents' mouths. So really all it is like basically talking to them like a professional. If you can talk to them like a professional, then you're going to be able to do deals with real estate agents. My recommendation, if you want to go down the real estate agent route, is just network with some flippers and people who actually have done a lot of business, right? Because
Mhm.
with real estate agents, you're going to need things like you're going to need a proof of funds, right? I recommend
Yep.
getting a real one, like get a real one from a real lender. And best way to do it is just partner up, like just make relationship with flippers who actually have these relationships,
Yep.
and then money lenders will give them to you. And so you just have to have your ducks in a row more with real estate agents, but it's completely free, which is really
Mhm.
cool, right? And so I'll just give you an example because it's a very common one. Is like an agent might, let's just say an agent's like, oh yeah, so like, are you a wholesaler? Like, is that what you do? Like a lot of times what I would say, I do everything. Like I literally now do everything. I've done 2 flips. I'm not a fan of flipping, but I've done two
Uh-huh.
flips. I own a couple of rentals. So now I can say, hey, I do everything. I might buy and hold this. I might flip this. I might wholesale this. I do whatever makes sense for
Yep.
this deal. Back when I literally only wholesaled, what I would say is me and my partners literally do
Mhm.
everything. We buy and hold, we flip, we fix and flip, we wholesale. We do anything that made sense for the deal. So I would just include my partners in there because I would have partners who do all those things. And
Right.
your buyers
Yep.
are your partners, right? They're your, in my opinion, they're basically JV partners.
Mm.
And so that's what I would, so like real estate agents, you can get a lot of deals done with real estate agents. My thing is just like find a good disposition wholesaler like me in your markets. I'm in all of Colorado and I'm in Northern California, soon to be Southern California too. But find someone who just knows what they're doing, that actually has HUDs, like does a lot of
Yep.
deals, and then partner with them so that they can just give you a number and you don't have to worry about what is this thing going to sell for. And then you're going to be just so much better off.
And what you speak of right there, Jonah, is just building those relationships, right? When you said, "Hey, get with a fix and flipper in your market that's already doing deals, so you can get proof of funds from them." That's building that relationship, getting out there talking with agents. That's building a relationship, and then, like you said, other JV partners, other wholesalers that can disposition this deal. Those are relationships, and that's what's key in this industry and real estate is just building those relationships. I'm an agent in multiple markets and I'm a wholesaler in multiple markets. And that was one of the ways that I got started as well is I would talk to agents. Hey, you know what? Whenever I would go to a new market, I would look at all of the properties that were recently rehabbed and I would call those agents. So that's one thing you guys that's listening right now, you're looking for agents. You can contact those agents and say, "Hey, I see you listed this property. It was recently rehabbed. Hey, I might be able to partner with you or your client because I go out and I find these deals." And then that's building two relationships in one right there. It's building your agent
Yep.
relationship and your possible fix and flip relationship. And then you can also ask that agent, hey, who is the other wholesalers in the market that does business ethically and works with realtors? And they'll provide that resource for you. So it's really about getting on the phone and talking to these different agents, wholesalers, fix and flippers. That's a great way to get started. So I'm glad you brought that up, Jonah.
Yeah, I mean, relationships are everything in this business, right? Your life is just going to be way easier if you have all the relationships that you need in your markets, buyers, like agents. Like, if you just have the right relationships, that's what can create a business. And that's what's special about the JV model, which is what we're talking about, is that
Mhm.
you don't need to spend money on marketing. You can spend nothing. Like, I had a little bit of money still left. So I had text messaging up for that's how I was
Mhm.
getting initially in contact with the real estate agent, so I paid for text. But if you wanted to, I could have just hand dialed them, and then
Yep.
literally my entire business would have been 100% free. Fully, fully, fully free, no skip tracing. Agents give out their numbers publicly. You can just go on to compass.com and click find an agent or whichever brokerage. All the brokerages give out their agents' numbers for free because they're businesses. And then just having the right buyers and having the right disposition wholesaler connections, and you're going to be perfectly fine. I'm constantly looking for wholesalers who are in my markets who have never done a deal before and are looking to work with someone like me. We're talking to these people right now, where I used to be is that's who I'm looking for today to help me, because how I do it is I give you whatever. You guys will follow me on Instagram. You send me a DM like, Jonah, I'm finding deals in NorCal. What do I need to get you in order for us to do a deal? I'll give you a list of questions. You just got to find the answers to them. With agents, it's insanely easy to get the answers. You literally just ask them. And then once you got the answers, I'll be in 5 seconds, I'll tell you whether it's something worth pursuing or something not worth pursuing. So
There you go. There you
yeah.
go. And then also another way with agents, just to put it out there, Jonah, is, you can find some of these agents that recently just got their license. And right now, especially right now, it's tough for them to go out and find deals, go out and find sellers and buyers. So you can have them to scrape the MLS for you and say, hey, in this market, send me all of the listings that's been on the market for 50 days plus, right?
Yeah.
And you just start sifting through those and start looking at them. And then you have your other wholesaler on the back end say, hey, I'm pulling 60-day expires on an MLS. If I come across something, would you run the numbers with me and see if we can secure a deal? And
Yeah.
that's a great way to get started.
100%. No, I totally agree.
So tell me about, okay, so we went over how to find the agents. What about finding wholesalers? But before we do that, Jonah, real quick, let's have a brief break, hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll talk about JVing with other wholesalers, because this can get a little tricky if you don't have all your ducks in a row. So let's have a brief break, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Jonah.
PropStream is the industry's #1 tool for locating distressed properties and connecting with highly motivated sellers. With 100% coverage across the U.S., PropStream provides a deep dive into any property's specific details, making it easy to generate lists of distressed properties and contact to the owners. No other product or service can compare. Gain access to MLS property details like expired listings. You can pull accurate comps, even sale prices in non-disclosure states. This information is typically reserved for licensed real estate professionals, but it is also available to you in PropStream. Gain access to unlimited nationwide property search, comparable home sales, targeted marketing lists, and owner contact lookup, built-in marketing tools, hundreds of filters to search and sort leads. Start your free 7-day trial now by going to proud.propstreampro.com/weloveequity. Are you tired of seeing others becoming successful real estate investors and you just don't know where to start? You see all the Instagram posts of others being successful. You see the Facebook ads guaranteeing instant success. You look at tons of YouTube videos and you even attend seminars just to be tricked into $10, $20, or even $30,000 courses. Well, with the Deal Finders Club, my husband is here to change things for you. Have you said to yourself, I'm deadly afraid to talk to sellers and I have no confidence. I don't know where to find motivated sellers. I don't know where to get a contract from. I don't know how much to offer the seller, let alone where I'm going to get the money from to close the deal. Well, in the Deal Finders Club, Marcus and his partner Mike are going to show you how to overcome all those challenges and more. Find out how by going to azdfc.com. That's azdfc.com. We'll see you inside.
All right, Jonah, we are back. So before we left, we were talking about JVing with other wholesalers. So give me an example or tell me, how do you do this? How do you find these other wholesalers? What do you do in order to start working with them?
So the best way to do it, there are several different ways. We'll start with the ways that I started with, which were Facebook groups. I think that's the biggest way to do it. And the mass way is just look up off-market San Francisco real estate or wholesale properties San Francisco, or start putting in different words like off-market fixers Bay Area, whatever your area is. You could do it anywhere. Cleveland, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, just like off market, wholesale, fixer uppers, and then look up for Facebook groups, join them. And then here's the process. You go into like the members section and you add up to 80 people a day, not more than 80. That's when Facebook starts blocking you. But
Yeah.
add 80 people. Some of them are going to respond, or some of them are going to accept your friend request. And then out of the people that accept your friend request, send those people a message, no more than 10 an hour. Don't do more than that. This was several times of me getting blocked and figuring out where the limits are. All right, guys,
Okay.
you got to figure out where the limits are. And then you can add 80 and then you can add another 80. And then you have to get rid of the old friend requests of people who hadn't accepted.
Accept
And
it.
then you
Yep.
keep going down, right? That's my favorite way of getting wholesalers.
Okay.
If you're like, if you're in a room, it's not my favorite way. It's the most effective way to hit the most amount of people. My favorite way is meetups and communities.
Okay.
So joining different real estate communities, some of them cost money, right? You don't need to join those. You can just go to real estate networking groups. They're all free
Mhm.
in a lot of different areas, RIAs, whatever it might be, and just meet as many wholesalers as you can and explain what you do. It's like, hey, I all I do is focus on buyers all day, right? That's what I do. So I got 400 buyers. I got 500 buyers. I can help you sell your deals whenever you want. Like I won't, you can just send it to me at your price. I'm just going to add whatever I want on top. I'm just going to help you out. Right. My best wholesaling relationships are ones from things like astro flipping, sub to these communities I've joined. Those cost money, but also the ones that I've met at RIAs and networking are the ones like, those are my strongest relationships because I've
Gotcha.
seen them in person and or we have something in common. But the Facebook method is really good too. I've met a lot of good wholesalers that way as well.
Okay. So one, you got Facebook groups. Two, you got meetups and communities and RIAs. I'll throw another one in there along with similar to the Facebook groups is join other wholesalers buyers lists so you can start seeing
Mhm.
deals that they're putting out. And it can solve two things, right? You can see what deals they're putting out. You can see what areas they're finding deals. And then you can reverse engineer and start working their numbers so you can really start getting comfortable with the numbers in certain markets. So you got Facebook groups, you got meetups and communities, and then what I said was join other wholesalers buyers lists.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that's a really good way of doing it. You can do that through the Facebook. I used to do Craigslist. I didn't get that many from there. I'd say the
Hmm.
main ones were Facebook and then the others, and then meetups and the communities I'm a part of. And now it's starting to be social media, right? When you get
Hmm.
to the level or when you start doing social media, now it's starting to happen where I do enough reels, I do enough YouTube content where people just outreach deals to me, which
Yep.
is also a great way to do it, right? Is like build your social media up.
Hmm.
If you guys have the bravery for it, the earlier you start with social media, the better. That's why I'm on this podcast right now, right? Your
Yep.
name gets out there. People see you as like a resource. And then, yeah, they just naturally want to bring it to you because they've been watching you and your content, right? So I don't even really do the Facebook, even in my community anymore. I think the vast majority of my JV deals are from either communities I'm a part of, like I'm a part of a ton of them now, guys. I'm part of Bren Daniels TTP. I'm part of the Astro Flipping, like I already said, sub
Hmm.
two. There's a couple, there's a 30K mastermind I'm part of called Avengers, which is like another one. And I'm part of all these communities. And then my social media brings in a ton of people sending me deals as well. But yeah, that's how but I find them.
All right. So once somebody bring you an opportunity or you see an opportunity, what do you need to do in order to make sure you JV with them and that you get paid? Because we want to make sure that you have everything in line so
So
you can get paid.
So I would recommend, and I'll give this out for free, guys. If you guys go into my Instagram and go to the link in my bio, it's a link tree, and at the bottom there's like my entire 100K business. This resource is in there. So if you sign up, this resource is in there. But I'll give out like a question, like the question I was mentioning earlier. I have like a question sheet where I'm like, okay, here's all the things I need in order to be able to disposition this deal. It's a bunch of things like what's the EMD amount, what price, blah, 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 blah. Right.
Okay.
Uh, if you identify it as a deal, one of the main things you have to do to make sure you're legally compliant is you have to sign what I call a non-exclusive option or a non-exclusive JV, right? The reason you're signing this, guys, is because there's something that you need with wholesaling called equitable interest. So the acquisition wholesaler has a purchase contract. What they're selling is they're not selling a house, they're selling a contract, right? For you to be able to sell a contract, you need to be a principal, which means you need to be somebody who's part of the contract, either the buyer or the seller, in order to sell the contract, right? You have to have some sort of interest, equitable interest in the property. So how you can do this as a disposition wholesaler is just having another contract with whoever has the purchase contract. I use a non-exclusive option, and you sign that with the wholesaler. So now there's a chain of contracts that allows you to sell the contract, because it's illegal for somebody to sell a house or try to sell a house unless you're a real estate agent.
Yep.
So it's not like I don't think anyone's ever gone to jail over selling a house or trying to sell a house that wasn't theirs. But I know people who've been fined
Yep.
like $1,000 or something like that from the Realtor Association or something. Like, I've heard of fines and stuff. So you just want to do that for that reason, the legal reason. And two, you want to make it abundantly clear to the wholesaler what your guys' agreement is, which is, hey, I'm going to attempt to sell this deal at 240,000 or whatever you guys agree to. I'm going to try to sell it at this price. You're giving me permission to do that. Because if you don't get permission from the wholesaler, that's when it's what I call daisy chaining,
Yep.
right? I think some people consider daisy chaining just when a dispo wholesaler is helping somebody else sell a deal, and then there's just a bunch of wholesalers in there. Really, it becomes an issue when nobody has any permission. That's when it's actually an issue. Because if you're an acquisition wholesaler, if you're the guy with the contract with the seller, it starts creating issues if people are just sending out things willy-nilly. Like, people
Yep.
start going around you. You don't know who the hell they are. You never even heard of John Smith, and you never gave John Smith permission to market it, right? And so when everything's done with permission, it's fine. As long as the acquisition wholesaler knows, it works out really well for them. It's really beneficial. And so it can work out really well. You just got to make sure you have a contract in place like that. And those resources are in my Instagram profile. Like, if you click the link in the bio. So if you guys need those, you guys can go there. And yeah.
Okay. So you guys want to make sure you have that non-exclusive option agreement or option contract with the acquisition wholesaler, because this is going to give you legal interest to market that property. And then also you want to make sure that you have clear rules, for the title company also, because this is giving the title company instructions on what to do when it comes to this transaction. If you don't have that in there, the title company, they don't have to cut you a check. That wholesaler don't have to say, well, we have an agreement. Here's his 5K, 10K, or 20K on this deal. And guess what? Lastly, you want to make sure you get paid. So you want to make sure that title company cuts a check directly to you, not to the other wholesaler, and then the other wholesaler cuts a check to you. Because guess what? If a wholesaler gets a check for 40K and they're only supposed to get 20, and the other 10 is supposed to go to you, you don't want to leave that up
You
to
gotta
chance.
trust them. You gotta, it's up to their good graces that they actually get you paid. And
Right.
there's a lot of people who, like, damn, dude, like, seeing 40K to them, like, they don't have that abundance mindset. They have the mindset of, well, a bank account,
Yep.
what the hell that other guy can do. So
So true. So you guys got to make sure you have that JV agreement in place. So kind of wrapping up here, Jonah, I mean, you gave us quite a bit, man. Give us one horror story that you faced, something that you went through that was terrible, but you kind of overcame it and came out on the other end.
I have a horror story where they fucked up the entire deal. And I was okay at the end, but the deal definitely died because of this. Do you want to hear that story?
Yeah, give it to us.
Okay. So there was one deal. This was so bad. This was during those 8 months where I didn't have a deal at all, right? I had a deal from a real estate agent. It was an amazing deal, off market. It was in an amazing area, the Bay Area. It's called Menlo Park, which is where Facebook's headquarter is and stuff like that. Like this is the richest area of the Bay Area. It's like a
Okay.
$2 million house. I think ARV was like 3.5 on it. I had it for two. I think I was gonna sell it for like 2.07 or something like that, which is
Okay.
70K, right? And everything's going smoothly. The agent loves me. I even tell the agent, "Hey, I'm probably gonna wholesale this one, just to be honest. I just want you to know that."
Hmm.
And the agent was cool with it. He sort of told the seller, I think. But what happened is I wasn't 100% confident in my buyers list yet,
Okay.
especially with like that price
That
point,
price point.
because that's a high price point, right? Even for the Bay Area, that's high.
Hmm.
In the Bay Area, like $1 million is average, but like 2 million, you have like a smaller buyers list. So I put the house on Craigslist as well, right? Just in case, just to get more buyers. I got a ton of buyers interested. Everyone was ready to go. We show up at the house, right? I have about like 8 buyers. I'm like, oh my God, I think I've got this one sold. I think this is going to be a good deal, right? We show up and immediately, or as soon as we show up and like we're about to be ready to go, immediately the seller just starts cursing everyone out. It's like, there's no deal here fucking today, right? Like whatever, like just starts
Oh,
cursing everyone
wow.
out, starts going off about the fact that it was put on Craigslist, and like
Craigslist.
he
Yep.
had his lawyer there, and the agent is like showing up in a business suit looking like me and him are both looking like a-holes, right? He's pissed off at me, whispering, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why'd you put it on Craig? Like, it was just an
Yep.
absolute nightmare. I basically just have to tell everyone to go home because we can't figure out the situation. And I didn't understand how contracts worked well yet. I didn't have a lawyer. I had made that $10,000, but I still had everything on credit card. So I didn't know that that was actually illegal, kind of what they did, because we
Yeah.
were in our inspection period. You can't block someone from going into the house in the
Yep.
inspection period. But I was just kind of so scared at this point because like I was like, "Oh, I can't afford legal fees and all this stuff
Hmm.
and yada yada yada, right? Like I'm not gonna be able to do this." And I just didn't understand that almost no one sues anyone ever. It's very rare because it's so expensive. But I just didn't know this. I didn't understand the legal system. I didn't like. I was just super scared. So then I canceled the contract basically. So I was like, I just can't get sued. I just got to move on to the next one. But that was like a 70K contract that I basically just from putting on Craigslist fumbled the
Yeah.
bag. And so ever since then, I'm like, dude, fuck showings. I'm not doing any showings.
Hmm.
Everyone, I'm gonna pay someone $100 to deal with this for
Yep.
this showing now. But yeah,
I have,
so it
yeah.
was my horror story.
I have a similar story, but yeah, you have to be careful when you putting it out there on open platforms, like even when
Mm,
you're sharing it in your different Facebook groups, things like that, because someone else can pick that deal up and have good intentions, right? To share it to their buyers list or something like that. And it may get back to the original seller and they'll see, okay, well, I'm selling it for 2 million and this person got it out there for 2.07, they're going to make
yeah,
70K on this. No, I'm not going through with this. So you just got to really be careful with that sometime. But yeah, in your defense, you definitely could have still held that contract because you had a legally binding agreement and they had to sell it to you. Would that attorney
mhm.
try and make it difficult?
The
Yeah, but at the same time, you still could have got that deal done.
yeah, because they can't. It's I put in an assignment clause in there. It didn't mention how I could market it at all, but it's
Hmm.
dubious whether I could have posted that on Craigslist or not. Probably a gray area, but it is not a gray area that I could see the house during my
Right,
inspection period.
right.
That was not gray at all. That was black and white. So if I had a similar situation like that now, I mean, I wouldn't do that anymore. I don't post it on Craigslist anymore.
Hmm.
But like if I had an agent acting like that, um, I would go off on them. All right, a
Yeah.
seller, I would like be like, no, we're not doing this. Like my contract says I can see this house. This is $70,000. I'm for sure doing this. We're going
Ex
through with it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I
So
got my partners here. This is a $2 million house. I'm not a contractor. We're gonna go up in here and see exactly what needs to be done so I know that I'm not getting myself into a bad deal.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I would have handled that differently. I would have just been like, if you don't like let us in, then like, yeah, we like you're gonna end up with a lawsuit because what
Mhm.
I did is I don't know if you can argue is like illegal. I wouldn't consider
Mhm.
that illegal. But what you're doing is definitely breaking the contract. And you know
Yeah.
this, lawyer. Like even with this, you can't block me entry. Even
Right.
you could be mad about me doing that, but you can't block me entry. You know this. You know this from if I had been there now, I would have been like arguing to the lawyer, been like, we're in our inspection period.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen when you say you denied my inspection
Inspection
period?
period. Yep.
Yeah, that's wrong. And and you just blocking it is just ridiculous. And because if we had even gotten them in there, then it would have been just a whole different story. But like it is very hard to find someone who could do a sight unseen offer on a $2 million
On a $2
property.
million
That's
house.
super
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah. That's very, very risky for them on that end. So, well,
So
all
that's my
right.
horror story.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I always like to give the good and the bad so people will know both perspectives, right? They'll know exactly what happens on both sides. So, Jonah, kind of wrapping up here, man. How can we find you? Where can we go? I know you mentioned Instagram. Give us your IG handle so people can reach out to you.
So my IG handle is my name. You guys see it in the bottom of the screen. It's just there's an underscore in between Jonah Korchin. That's the place. That's the best place if you want to reach out to me and like talk to me. I respond to my DMs. It's me. I'm constantly responding. That's the best place to send me deals. That's the best place to get in contact with me. If you want some really good education and you guys want to see me on my podcast, Scorch the Fears, that's my YouTube channel, which is also my name. Those are the two best places. I have a TikTok, but you might as well just reach out on Instagram. TikTok is kind of just repost the reels that I already posted on Instagram. So just my name on all platforms. I'd suggest YouTube and Instagram. Those are the two best places to have a conversation with me and get content and all that good stuff.
All right, guys. So make sure you go out there, reach out to Jonah, follow him, see exactly what he's doing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions, slide into his DM, and he will definitely answer because he answered us on having him on the show today. So you know exactly what to do, right? You got the instructions, you got everything from Jonah. Get out there and take action. Yes, you're gonna face some fears. Yes, you're gonna have to overcome some fears and some adversity, but success is right around the corner for you if you take the action. So, Jonah, thank you so much for being here, guys. And it's another successful episode of the We Love Equity Real Estate Show. Thank you for listening to today's show. I picked up some great actionable items, and I'm sure you did as well. If so, let me know. You can always reach me via social media at facebook.com/MRCSMaloney, Twitter at MRCSMaloney, and of course, IG at MRCS Maloney. You can also always reach me via email at mmaloney@equityri.com. Make sure you reach out to our guests as well. You can always find their contact information in the show notes below. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Join the family. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we tell if we're providing you with what you need for your journey. If there's someone you would like for me to interview, or if there's a subject matter you would like for me to cover, please let me know. Finally, if you're looking for additional information about real estate investing, go to equityrealestateblog.com. Also, youtube.com/Marcus Maloney. Until next time, family, always enjoy the journey.